In a world where democracy cannot be taken for granted, the mission of the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, International IDEA, is to support sustainable democratic change through providing comparative knowledge and assisting in democratic reform and influencing policies and politics.
And the human rights activists, on the other hand, were saying we want those people who committed atrocities during this time to be brought to justice.
So the moment we defined the common vision of our country, then the other issues became subsidiary.
Determined to break all forms of discrimination, irrespective on grounds of ethnicity, on grounds of religion, any kind of discrimination.
In addressing our mission, we focus on the ability of democratic institutions to deliver a political system marked by public participation and inclusion, representative and accountable government, responsiveness to citizens' needs and aspirations, and the rule of law and equal rights for all citizens.
And I think a supplementary question which I should then ask at this point, because I think it's a follow-up, is what other step would you take, or should a country take after the promulgation of a new constitution to ensure that the things that they were aspiring towards with a new constitution are actually achieved?
The International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, International IDEA, is an intergovernmental organization that supports sustainable democracy worldwide.
Constitution building processes curriculum is explicitly designed to be interactive, and it involves a theory called experiential learning. So the idea is, rather than lecture people who are very well experienced and have a lot of experience on their own, we create learning activities so that they can share their own expertise among each other. So in reality, what they are doing is teaching themselves.
In our preamble, we thought it should reflect the following: our history, the freedom of worship, recognizing the fundamental freedoms, respect for diversity, promoting tolerance, respect for women and minority.
It has developed programs which aim to provide knowledge to democracy builders, provide policy development and analysis, support democratic reform.
We wanted the women's rights to be enshrined in the Constitution, and we had to convince her that if we say fundamental and democratic rights of all human beings, it includes also women. So,
International IDEA works with the democracy practitioners and institutions in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Arab world. Winla Kwahiu, the program manager for Constitutional Building Program of International IDEA, based in Sweden, provides an insight into the organization.
We currently have 25 member states who come from across the globe, distributed in all the 5 continents, and essentially they work through a secretariat which is headquartered in Stockholm with a statute that gives us a mandate to support democracy by developing comparative knowledge resources, by working together with national practitioners where it adds value and where they invite us, and also by looking at how to make international assistance more effective in supporting, financing, and promoting and building democracy.
International IDEA provides knowledge resources in the form of handbooks, databases, and websites, training materials, and foster expert networks.
When one looks at the processes themselves, I think what is common in majority of the African processes was the central role that was taken by negotiation between the political actors.
Maybe the conflicts they had were because human rights were violated so much.
Yeah.
So they have to show their determination in the preamble of how they are.
Because that then can help us to pick out a few points that we might want to use in our own constitution building processes.
IDEA conducted a pilot training workshop in Nairobi, Kenya from the 2nd to the 6th of November 2009. The participants, coming from the different African countries of Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Zimbabwe, and Somalia, went through innovative and highly interactive sessions.
Everyone has the right to practice their own religion. There we agree. Yes? Are we agreeing on the religious aspect?
Yeah, we've agreed. No,
you are making us to agree.
No, we agreed.
Do not listen to him.
What is the next way?
No, we are putting this one of mine. People in this country have been seriously discriminated because of their ethnic origin. So I'm fighting this one. No discrimination based on ethnic origin.
You'll observe what happened to you. Your role is you assume that identity. Let's come to the second nurse here. Who are you?
I work as a cobbler, but the money I get is so little, it cannot even buy food for the family.
The pilot training curriculum for this was developed by Dr. Christine Warren, and she shares her thoughts with us.
It's a very innovative method of teaching, but all of the most modern training curricula around the world use this method of experiential learning. It's very effective. People enjoy it a lot most of the time. They have fun while they're learning, and they feel very rewarded by the sense of teaching themselves and discovering themselves. So it's also a very democratic learning methodology because people are sharing experiences among themselves rather than looking to a higher authority for information.
By accepting this formal language, no right of the Sharia will be what you call violated.
Principle of diversity in religion, ethnicity, custom and culture and language.
It represents the sky and the authority beyond the sky, the higher authority, which is, God or the other,
whatever you think of.
And we have got this bird, which is ministers representing the 61 tribes, and it's supposed to be a symbol of peace.
Winluck sheds more light as to how International IDEA did the selection of participants.
We have a very gifted and very diverse group of participants. Their profile, when you look at them, is that they have all been involved in a very practical way in building, making, reforming their constitutions. They are not academics. They are not people who just do a lot of analysis and are not engaged. They are actually people who are engaged in these issues. We have got parliamentarians, we have got media activists, we have got civil society activists, and we even have governmental staff, but all of them connected in one way or another with trying to make their constitutions work in practice, not in theory.
Drafts like the Bomas draft, the Waki draft, Kilifi draft, and now the constitution, the experts are looking into the constitution. So
the Nairobi conference was facilitated by a group of resource persons with a large wealth of experience.
We have a mixed team of resource facilitators, and they are quite excellent. Okumba Miroka, who is a lead facilitator, is very well known in the region, and he is a lead facilitator within the UN agencies around here who have been doing capacity building. Salma Maulidi from Tanzania is also a very well renowned figure in this area. She is also a lawyer who's been involved as a lawyer in activism around questions of women's rights and gender. And then John Songo is actually somebody who has been working with the military forces in Uganda and even in the region, and he is working in a very sensitive area, capacity building in military regimes, looking at human rights questions. So very dynamic people. I think their ability is quite multitasking, and their ability to adapt to new themes. This is now a question of building training, and they've taken it like a fish to water.
In this particular workshop, I'm the lead facilitator on piloting of the constitution building curriculum that has been developed by International IDEA. So I'm taking particular sessions, and I'm working with a group of 2 other colleagues with whom we actually plan what to do, and then we share the responsibilities.
It is not so much a conference, it is a hands-on training with people who are already engaged in the field of constitutional building, and most of our participants come from countries that either are recovering from conflict or are already in processes towards building a new consensus at a national level.
The idea behind this workshop is to try and exchange views with a particular expertise, and we are facilitating these views coming out of this expertise on how to make a pro-people constitution. Pro-people constitution in that these constitutions should cover all the needs, all the aspirations of the people in these various countries. People who have gone through this period of disagreement, period of conflict. And I'm really happy that The process is going on very well. We have tried our best. We have used our knowledge to impart it on to the participants, and the participants are also very receptive, and they have also contributed a lot in building the process.
The participants shared their experiences about the training workshop.
I love the negotiations. The negotiations were very, very good. They're very interactive. You have all kinds of parties on the table trying to front their interests. So it's really been good. It's been very, very good.
Yeah, it has made me want to have a more critical thought into any situation presented to me, because there are very many thoughts behind questions asked, or say in a negotiation when someone comes with whatever suggestion they have, they probably have something at the back of their minds that they want you to maybe put into whatever it is, yeah, that you're discussing.
Well, I have learned a lot, but the most one which has touched me seriously is about the post-violence conflicts, because we are already experiencing that one. Kenya was in that process. We have internally displaced persons, and I have learned a lot. I have also seen the film on Darfur people, and they looked similar to the ones of Kenya, because they were displaced from their places of residence.
And I find the workshop very useful. We have learned a lot of things which are applicable to the work we do and the environment around us. Actually, we've been taking constitutions as documents which are written in stone, but they are living documents, and I've been challenged to start thinking about how we can engage with constitutions in terms of contested rights, in terms of rights which have not even been stated in the constitution, and I've been challenged. Yeah.
Really, I found it very interesting and very helpful, and actually we had a nice time to discuss our personal experiences of different countries.
Similar conferences in the future, I would recommend that it be made even in other circumstances, in other cases.
I think it is critical that we identify the gap and focus on getting knowledge that fits to that gap from this training workshop. The gap that I have identified, and I will be happy to discuss with other participants what other gaps they may have identified, is that we have become very good at lobbying and agitating for certain issues to be reflected in the constitution. But when we get a chance to sit in a forum where we negotiate the constitution, we have found that many participants have not been prepared for the negotiations. They have lacked the skills to convert their positions and their interests into an actual constitutional provision. And many of them have been too focused on what it is that they are demanding, and less focused perhaps on how do we get what we want by bargaining with others who are opposed to what we want to get. So that they kept reiterating, but we want this, but we want this, and others kept saying, but we also want this, and it is in opposition to what you want. And I think I picked many of them telling me it was very interesting when we were in a negotiation, because we have never been actually in an exercise where we negotiate with the others. We've always been on the streets demanding things, agitating for reform, writing petitions, writing publications saying we want to have this kind of law. But when we are brought in the forum where it says now let us negotiate what we can get, this has been a missing skill, and I think that is one gap identified.